Hey everybody, Mike McWilliams, upstairs to the right music channel. Thank you so much for taking the time to show up this evening. As always, yes, welcome to you too, sir. Dewey, welcome so much. Thank you so much for taking the time to show up this evening. Whether you guys are watching this live now this evening or whether you watch it in the rerun, I want to let you know that I do appreciate you taking the time to watch. Time, as we've discussed before, is a very valuable thing. So I really do appreciate the fact that you're spending a little bit of yours with me. All right. Yeah, I like the framing here. Pull myself up, look a little spiffier than this. Yeah, this is good. How is everybody this evening? Ben, welcome. Howdy. Welcome, sir. You know, interesting week this week. Uh, Today, I went to a live show right here down the street. 10-minute walk from here is a very famous nightclub or live club called the Paradiso. And I went to go see a guy named Ron, and he was performing, and it was an interesting experience because it's been a minute since I've been in that small. It's not a small room, but I would say it would be considered to be. You can hold about 100 people comfortably, and that's about it. Maybe 80 people. And as it stood, there were 50 people there. So yeah, there was room for about 30, 40 more as it stood. But just to be in that size room. Evening, folks. Kimmy from G.A.S. from yeah. Yeah, we'll see if I can do that. I don't know. I've got some points here. That's funny. I've got some points to discuss here this evening. Hey, Don Juan, welcome. Um, but yeah, I went to go see Ron play, and it was interesting. So it's a trio. So he's got a drummer, a bass player, and himself. And he's playing Yamaha guitars, the old Yamaha SGs from 72, 73, 74, 75. Like the SG 35, the SG 45, and things like that. He plays those. Those are bolt-on neck SG type guitars that Yamaha put out. But boy, those pickups are screaming. And rare. Those are rare. And a few Gibsons he had. And but the thing that got me, and I got there a little, I got there on time, which would be making me early, if you know what I mean, if you've ever been in the club scene. So that I could make sure that I had a spot standing in front of wherever the sound booth or the sound guy was going to be, because that's my spot when I go to a show, because that's going to be your best sound in the room. And also, just generally, it's in the back of the room, and that's I kind of like to lay back. I am not going to be in front of the stage, especially when I observed this guy had Tone City amps, and Ross was running one 4x12 cabinet with a JCM head. And then he was running a 2x12 cabinet with a Tone City cabinet with a matching Tone City head. The bass player had what looked like a 6x10 cabinet and was also Tone City head matching the cabinet. And I said to myself, boy, you're about to get your ears blown off, because I was looking at the size of the room and I was looking at, the amps that these guys had. And the minute that they laid in, boy, it just wall of sound. Now, let me catch up here. Hey, my brother is here. David, welcome, welcome. Hey, brother Mike, about to land in Atlanta. Thought I'd go pop in on your welcome you, brother, and I'm glad that you had a safe flight. Just be safe out there, as you know. Maddie Two Hats, good morning. Monday at Mike's from Australia, that's correct. Mickey, hey, sir. Hey, Mike, loving the t-shirt. Yeah, I dug out my Zeppelin shirt today to go to that live venue that I went to. I'm talking about here. Good to see you, Dave. I'm glad you showed up. Glad to see you're all right. Frederick Rogers, welcome, welcome. Uh, what we got here? House Dome Funk. Evening, folks. Yeah, I read that one. All right. Well, so I knew I was about to get my ears blown off, and as it turned out, that's exactly how it was. And it got me thinking to myself, if I were to do a live stage in this same venue, what amp would I use? What ended up happening, and I think they had mic'd, and these were mic'd as well, as you know, they weren't just playing out to the room, but my gosh, that the kick drum was really predominant, and so much so that that low end was so predominant that it cut off all the bass frequencies, so you couldn't always hear the bass guitar. And also, one thing that I noticed when Ross was playing, that it was just a very bassy kind of sound that room was producing. Still good, tight band, tight. But just I think that maybe the gear was a little bit too overpowering for that size room, actually. And so again, like I said, I started thinking to myself, well, what would I have taken on stage with me? And also, when in between songs, when he had a pedal board, when he was changing guitars or doing all of that, a lot of feedback there too. Answer when you can, please. I'm thinking of getting a Fender Blues Junior amp. Any thoughts or advice? Yeah, you should have had it yesterday. A Fender Blues Junior amp. Yeah, you're right on, and you're not off topic. I'll answer that now. This is exactly the topic. What amp would you take on stage? Yeah, Fender Blues Junior is a fantastic amp. It's what I consider to be, like my Laney, just a good all-around amp to have at home, and you can do practice with it. And getting to tonight's subject, what amp would I like to have on stage if I were to have done a show like that? I would have really preferred to have a Fender Blues. I'm sorry, a 59 Bassman, a Fender 59 Bassman. 59 Bassman is a 4x10 combo amp. And I wouldn't be hesitant to say that I would have any kind of pedals with that either. I think maybe the Echoplex. Well, I've sold it now, but the Echoplex, I would have something like that, or a good Echoplex emulation pedal. That's about it. And I think that for that size room, whatever guitar, I think for that size room, that would have just been perfect. And as it turns out, Fender just came out with a reissue of the 59 Bassman. Now, that reissue is $19.99. The real deal will run you about $8,000. So you can do the math there. I have one with an upgraded speaker, but also have a Session Blues Boy 45 transistor copy of the Fender, but it's a fine amp with no tube in sight. Yeah, solid state's fine. My experience with Marshall DSL 400 CR or any kind of Marshall tube amp. Not any kind of Marshall tube amp. The DSL series, it's okay, as I seem to recall, and you guys would excuse me, correct me out there in the chat. But you want the blues, I think, the blues junior that was mentioned there, that's just a good all-around amp. That's what, if I were to pick up, realistically, because I'm not even going to be able to afford the reissue of the Bassman at $2,000, that's a little too rich for my blood. But I suppose if I sold all my pedals and my Laney, yeah, I could. That would just about almost cover it. But great! I've got a 4x10 in my apartment here. Now that gets another thing, the practicality of it. Um, the 59 basement runs at, it's a 4x10 that runs at 45 watts. So actually, in the scale of things, that's pretty loud, but it's not monstrous. Whereas my 1x12 in there runs at maximum 15 watts. It has a 1 watt attenuator built into it, and that's what I'm plugged in all the time. I've never plugged into the 15 watt input. And so that's the practicalities of it. Even if I did get the 59 basement reissue, it would not work in this household. It would peel the paint off the walls. But in a live club setting like that, that's what I would have. What would you guys use if you were playing live? 4x10 super reverb is glorious. Yeah, I'm not saying that. It is glorious. The sound that Ross was getting out of those Tone Cities today, I don't know what speakers he had in there. Knowing him and his love for Zeppelin and vintage gear and things like that, probably had something old and really nice in there. But again, like I said, the only problem is that low end, and I couldn't hear his vocal. So a lot of low end in that, and I just thought he would probably benefit with just having a 4x10, and mic that up. And that would cover, that would, that would still get you, even if the bass kept his rig the same, you'd have a lot more clarity in that. You guys would think that a 12-inch speaker will give you a lot of clarity. No, it's really good for mids. That's why the old greenbacks are really good. They're good well-known MIDI for their mids. But you actually get a lot more clarity out of 1x10 and 1x8. A lot of those old records that were recorded back in the 50s, 60s, and even up until a point in the 70s were done on 8-inch and 10-inch speakers. So there's that. Many thanks for your, no problem no problem with that. That's an easy one. I'm slightly envious. If I were to trade in my Laney, it would be for the Blues Junior. It's a great amp. There's a Fender amp out there called the Fender Bassman or something like that. It's not what I'm talking about here. It's something else. It's a newer one. They didn't put a lot of them out, and it's a small, I believe it's a 1x10, maybe a 1x12. If you can find one of those out there, Dewey, you might want to take a look into that if that answered that question. But yeah, I just thought to myself, if I were on stage, in that size room, you kind of have to read the room. I guess there's the desire to just want to completely just rock out. Yeah, I hit the stage, man, and I hit those bastards with the full, enchilada. Yeah, that's a good thing. The Bible verb 2x10. Yeah, it's something else I'm thinking. Maybe that's it. But there's some cool Fender amps out there that were one-offs that you might want to look into. I heard somewhat that Eric Clapton recorded a whole album on a little champ or something like that. 50 say yes, that's absolutely true. Again, technology had a lot to do with it at that time as well. But they were on to something. They discovered that you still got all your highs. You got all that articulation that you want, because what's the use of that if you don't have that? But it kept the lows. It tamed the lows. And then Van Halen came out with his Brown sound, and he was recording with a stack, a full Marshall stack, and everybody kind of started gravitating back towards that again. Most venues down here won't allow big rigs. They have noise restriction now, and there's that as well. There's another reason why the younger generation, like I said, Ross is, brother man is doing it, but he's in his 60s, to my eyes. I may be wrong, 50s, 60s. And that is of the generation, my generation, that, just wants to go for it on stage with a 4x12, but or stack of 4x12s. But the reality is most clubs won't allow for that now, and most clubs. You know, the Paradiso is one of the few places I think you can still in this world that I know of that you can still blow it out like that. But really, seriously, young people like modelers, and it's easier for the club. In everything's controlled. The sound guy had an SSL mixing board. They can make magic out of that, and you know, visually, you would have to do something with your background to take the place of where those amps. Usually, the classic, you know, stack of amps in the background. Something else would have to be happening there. But on that small stage or something like that, I would like that because then I would have room to bring a dancer out or do something just to keep it flowing. Uh, you know, it just is one of those things where that's a dying thing to be able to do that. And I, from a sonic standpoint, standing back there where, you know, all, and I should have known better because right before they hit the stage, the sound guys all put in their earplugs. I was like, oh man, we are in for it and from it. My face just is like, you know, I opened the Lost Ark of the Covenant. My face just melted. And I watched most of his set and I dug it. About 40 minutes, I could have get about 30, 40 minutes. I hung in there and then I dipped out because my ears and for good, even now, a couple hours later, my ears still have a little bit of a ring to them. And that you're just not going to get that anymore these days. And to be honest with you, I don't know if I appreciate it as much now as I might have when I was younger. Um, so there's that. The pot of gold, guys. Okay, next subject, as it was alluded to there about gas. And I guess, and all this stuff actually ties together because what I observed today was gas in action. And what do I mean by that? It's amazing when you hear a tube amp at full tilt. That's when they open up. That they open up. However, there's a sweet spot, and this is not, you know, the sweet spot. And he was all he rolled over that sweet spot with a steamroller. You're right. There's nothing like that, you know, and that's what. And I told you about the kid that got the guitar from me, and he used my amp, and he had never heard an amp before, and it blew him away. And there's nothing that's going to beat a tube amp. You can emulate it sonically to the point where the audience will say, "Hey, that sounds like an electric guitar." Should sound, you know, as far as most audiences are concerned. But but I was in the back of a pretty good sized medium sized hall, and I could feel the air pushing. I could feel the air pushing me. There we go. Had a little bit of internet freeze there. Yeah, I could feel the air from those speakers pushing me. It's like, and there's nothing like that. It was glorious. It's like you know, in those Viking movies, it was glorious. You're all smeared in blood. I was smeared in the sound of that. Um, but yeah, but that's a rare thing. I mean, I appreciated it. There were some things I would have done to cleaned it up, like I've said, but it was something to hear. But it was gas on display, guys, because Ross can pull that off. That's something he can do. He can get those Tone City amps. You can get that old JCM head, and some of those guitars, and and that's, you know, it's tone searching, you know, in front of a live audience, and that, you know, is what rock and roll is about. You know, You're either with that camp or with it, or you're not. And so gas in that way really is something that can be dangerous, because if you have the ability to explore too many options, you can never really develop a sound. Also, there's no differentiation there when it comes to one song to the other or to the next or things like that. I'm not saying in the case of today. I'm just saying that's what's going to happen. I've seen it. I've seen it. And you don't want to have that happen. You don't want to have that happen to you. In my latest video that I put out on my channel this week, I talked about how I've started to drift away from the Les Paul and started drifting sonically towards the Stratocaster, because it's a new kind of deal for me. I never had a Stratocaster before. So it's kind of a groovy thing to have. It's exciting to me musically because it's a tonal palette that I never used before. All of my ads that I did for different agencies, my recording work, the records that I've done, like I said, I've never used a Strat. So it's exciting to me. But if I had a Strat, the ability to have a multitude of Strats, I think I would be doing myself a disservice. Because yeah, I would have the tonal, because they're not all going to sound the same, but I'm really of that class of cat who really believes that you're only, get this one, learn this one, make it sound good, and then we can talk about getting on to the others or having more. And so, and I think that's why a lot of the pros you see on stage, very rarely, they may have they'll have their A guitar. They may pull out their B guitar on a certain song because of a different tuning or something that's a lot easier just to swap that way. But most cats, they stick to one guitar. And really, G.A.S. is something that, from a live player's standpoint, that can do you some harm. You want to try to, in my opinion, this is my opinion, the pot of gold at the end of the tone sustain rainbow is a elusive unicorn. I'll read that again. I wrote that down. I liked it so much. The pot of gold at the end of the tone sustain rainbow is an elusive unicorn, and it is. And all that chasing tone, or that chasing sustain, guys, like, what do you play? What set of strings do you play? Oh, I play 12s because it gives me great sustain. And it's true, they do. It's just true. The heavier gauge you have, the more sustain you get. But if your fingers if you can handle that kind of tension, then that's groovy. But then you start saying, okay, I got these 11s on here, and I'm getting used to playing it, but I can get some more sustain out of that. Let me start doing this. And then you start going, well, maybe it's not even this guitar. Maybe because the wood of this guitar is, agathis, and I need to get an outer body if I really want, And so that's all these roads that it starts that tone chasing. It starts that, in this case, sustain chasing. And same thing, as tone chasing. It's the same thing. We gotta kind of, this is my channel, guys. This is what I talk about. This is my viewpoint. By the way, I have 2 likes and I have 19 people watching right now. There's something wrong with that. Hit those likes, guys. Come on, hit those likes. Help a brother out. Can't do this without you. Hit that like button if you please. S'il vous plaît. That tone chase is something you gotta be wary of, guys. And I'm in my 50s now, and I'm talking in hindsight. But I really did talk about it because tonight and brought it up as a subject because I saw a good example of that today. As a matter of fact, up until I was standing there in the live hall and I was thinking to myself, I was waiting for them to get started, was what am I going to talk about tonight? And right there on stage was my answer. Smash the like button. Thank you, Mickey. Thank you, sir. There was a good example there because I think this is a good example where less is more. Small gig, hour set, 5, 6, 7 guitars in a rack next to the stage, which is what I saw. Not really. This is a little bit of overkill. It's kind of unnecessary. A lot of things there that I observed that were interesting to me, and just signs of gas is what it was. And so I thought to myself, what are some solutions to gas? I'm always talking about, be wary, beware. It's like I'm talking about the boogeyman. Don't knock on your mirror 3 times at midnight and say gas. It will grab you. It'll reach to the mirror and get you. That's funny, man. But I do see things of it, and even in my with myself, I'm a human being. Cut me. Do I not bleed? um, it's a small room, like a half a drum kit and some small amps would be more than, yeah, exactly, Maddie. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that sometimes less is more, and bring your A game guitar, bring your A game rig, whatever it is. But think about those things sonically. And but let's move away from the live situation. Let's go to just the home enthusiast, which 90% of that 10% that I always talk about are, to some level or degree or another, 80%. But even in that degree, that's really where you have to be careful. You know, we are in the golden age of guitars and amps and pedals. I've said that before. I'll say it again, and many people on YouTube have said it, and you guys know it yourself. If you know what I'm talking about, if you know what I know, and I know you know. Does that make sense? And I think that we have a lot of choices as consumers now to make smart choices when it comes to even our leisure or the things that we enjoy doing. Of course, there's a pleasure of opening, unboxing a guitar, taking it out, looking at it, holding at it, doing all that. And I don't think that is a pleasure you should deny yourself, because we got to keep this thing rolling. Like I've said, we have to not buy the $1,600, Epiphones, because I think that that's foolishly spent money. Guarantee you go on the resale on that, you'll be lucky if you get $850, and I'm telling you, that's the truth. I know it. And so, being wise with your discretionary income is what this channel is about, and what we talk about. Now, solutions to gas. Number one is, if you're broke, that'll cure your gas real quick. I put that as number one to make a larger point, that broke is a subjective term. So, but I think you guys can pretty much imagine what I'm trying to say there. But I want to reiterate again that what we would consider to be a beginner or a starter guitar, when it comes to Squires and Epiphones and things of that nature, are considered to be very precious in a lot of other countries, a lot of other places, even here in Europe, and in Eastern Europe for sure. They'd be psyched to get a Squire. They're not thinking about Fenders or Gibson. Hell, even us, we're even starting to give those prices and those companies the stink eye, right? Yeah, yeah. So imagine they've been there a long time now, and a Squire is aspirational, an Epiphone is aspirational, and they rock it when they get it. But brokenness is a sure cure to gas because it'll keep you from just feeding that monkey, and also it'll get you to appreciate what it is that you do have, what you do have. So we're going to start out with number one. The first solution to gas is appreciating what you have, whether you're broke or not. Appreciating what you got. Number two is the one that most people do, that they keep as a general rule. It's what I call the one in, one out rule. You guys know what I'm talking about? You do that? Anybody out there? If you buy something, you sell something. You let something go. If you buy something, you let something go. I don't know if it's wisdom, but I'll tell you. Sorry, guys, something in my throat there. But I'll tell you, it sure is. It sure is what I've observed in my 56 years of being here, and since the age of 16 doing it, is that I've come to these conclusions, and I'd like to share them with you. I have only ins, no outs. Well, that's the thing. And that's why to you guys, I do that when my equipment, buy something and then sell to upgrade. Yes, yeah, exactly correct. That's what I'm talking about. So the one in, one out rule, that's the cure to gas as well, guys. Because you will have to make sometimes some hard decisions. You want, oh, I gotta have that so bad. I gotta have that. Okay, guess what? You gotta give up that last thing that you had to have as well in order to get this new thing. I have a friend called Charlie. He's broke. He has two old Parkcasters that he keeps patching up for each gig he does, and it's an amazing sight to see him keep those old beasts going. But he does it. Yeah, and you know what? Just like that guitar from when I was a kid that the dude had made himself, that weighed of like 20 pounds, and was strung with 13s that nobody could play but himself. I'm sure in Charlie's case, that's the same thing. If you gave him a brand new guitar, he probably wouldn't, he'd be thankful for it. He'd say, thanks, mate, but he'd probably stick with his parts casters. Because being broke, John Lennon, yeah, it is an awesome story, Mickey. It really is. And it drives the point home about talk about appreciating what you have and keeping up. And then think about it. I bet you if your guitar broke and you took it to Charlie and say, hey, mine's a little off, boy, he could fix it in 5 seconds because he knows now how to, there's a whole lot in that. A whole lot of good, out of something that most people would say, oh, that's bad. And, he's broke, but he loves what he's got. But the one in, one out rule, guys, the one in, one out rule, because it forces you to make decisions, and if you keep honest about it and you keep honest to yourself, you will find that you explore just all the venues. Sometimes you have to pay a little bit extra cash on top, but it's okay. Paying a little bit of extra money is okay. As long as it's within reason. I'm not saying you trade in the guitar plus $1 billion. Not that, but within reason. I think the one in and one out rule will cure gas. It will. That's how I did it, and I did it with pedals. I was like, I won't get a new pedal unless I sell one or trade one. So there's that. It's hard to sell because there's a reason you bought them. Well, yeah, of course. And again, like I said, then if there's a reason you bought those, then dig those ones that you got. You don't need that next one now, do you? See? And I mean, if you keep it honest and you keep it real, then you have to make choices. It's when we have to make hard choices that usually that's when our lives are impacted in growth ways that we grow. In ways that we grow. If we always keep our mama, I want my candy, I want it now. We keep being, Veruca Salt, I want it now. You know, um, yeah, that's good of you, Mickey. That you got a good heart. You're a good brother to let them do that. And that's why I said, that love rolls on. That's a good story. That's great, and that drives point one home. You know, a fundamental a fundamental guitar is just that. If it's fundamentally working, if it's a functional guitar, then there's no such thing as a beginning guitar. There's no such thing as a starter guitar. It's all marketing, jumbo. It's all. I keep driving that point home. If it's a functional guitar, it's fine. And again, one man's ceiling is another man's floor. I understand that. But if it's functional and you can take it to gigs, you can rock it, then it doesn't matter if it was $100, Squire, or and they told you it was a beginner guitar. It works. So where's the beginner part of it? If you're a professional, you've been playing gigs for a long time and you're rocking it, you know. Beginning in their point, you're a beginning sucker for them to upsell you on the next thing. If it plays, it's a guitar. That's right. And I'm sorry, guys. It's just because you can watch my videos: Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Thailand, Nepal. I've been all over the place, guys, and I've seen what passes for guitars in those music shops, and it's bad Chinese it's unplayable. Those guitars are unplayable, so that falls in this category. It's unplayable, so therefore, regardless of it's a $7,000 73 Strat, it doesn't matter if the neck's broken on, it's unplayable. If the parts are if the wiring is bad, it's unplayable. It's unplayable. So it's unplayable. If it's playable and it's functional and you can get on stage and rock it, then it falls in this. There's only two categories. All that beginning guitar, intermediate guitar, and pro guitar talk is garbage. It's garbage talk. The guitar in the hand of a working musician will sound fine. I agree. I agree. I completely. We're getting a little bit of internet interference here. I hope you guys can still hear me. Yeah, so dig that. There's just that. So let's see what's going on here because no, we seem to be going. All right, I'll keep rocking. Yeah, it's really, really, really a marketing hype and things that they're trying to do in order to get you to fall into that gas trap. So one in, one out. Again, that'll solve that. I'm over buying expensive guitars. Seems like the price keeps going up, but the quality does not. Yeah. Again, excuse me if I'm wrong, but that new Joe Bonamassa guitar that they just came out with, that is still, to my recollection, the same pickups and same woods and same everything that you would get with some of the ones that I've seen sub $1,000 in the past. So they've gone up in price, but the quality hasn't. There's nothing there now that I can say about those higher priced episodes. And as you guys know, I own the last Joe Bonamassa that I could say justifies that kind of price. No, you don't need to have expensive guitar and amp. Like I said, my guitarist in Tokyo for my band Asanoki, when we played live, he would take me over we would go to live venues to scout out where we could play at. and he would just scoff at the bands on stage because they had all this expensive equipment and they couldn't even keep time. I bought a Martin 2 years ago. Well, there are some things, acoustic vintage Martins, there are some things that are worth investing in. I think, and we're going to talk about it, that's so weird that you talk about it because the next subject is going to be acoustic guitars. That's interesting that you brought that up. Frederick, very psychic of you because we're going to talk about acoustic guitars tonight. So put a bookmark on that one and remind me to get back to that one. If you're not playing at least a custom shop Les Paul and a Dumbo, it's not going to sound good. Yeah, man, I got to have that 8x12 stock, with my 1959 Les Paul. It's just not working for me. I just can't get that mojo. So number three, solutions to gas, my humble opinion, it's been discussed here. We talked about it a little bit here, is the DIY route. And it was just brought up there at the beginning by Mickey talking about parts casters. A parts caster will solve gas, I've discovered. I'm a little late in the game. You'll excuse me. I'm a little late to the game with the part caster thing. To a certain, no, I'm late to the game. No ands, if, or buts. But what I have discovered in the time that I've been trying to get bits and pieces of this and put things together is that there's a better understanding of the instrument that you have in terms of what you need to do, what's good, what's not. So it's not just something off the rack and you're like, hey, this sounds great. I like the way the neck feels. Pickup sounds great. And then you move on. No. Well, this one, I had to shim the neck and I needed to do this and I'm thinking something's going on with the nut there. Do I need to change it or not? And you start to really invest your time into that instrument. So then that, as I was alluding to in the video that I put out yesterday, on my regular channel again, about building that intimacy with an instrument. And a DIY project is the golden ticket to that, because that's something that, whether it's something as basic as I did, taking this body from, and this neck and putting together and making that work and getting them sound good, which is basic kind of thing, or just taking a whole body, unpainted neck, all the parts and putting something together like that. Those are the guitars that guys always keep. There is a market out there. You can say, well, they keep them because they can't sell them. That's the whole contraire, my friend. There is a market out there for parts casters. I see it every day here in the Netherlands and in the Marktplaats. There's cats who are, putting together parts casters and they're selling them. So there is a market for that. And there's other guys who are looking for parts for their part casters, so they'll buy somebody else to see it there. So there's a thing there. That's why I said keep it rolling. You got to keep it rolling. There is a thing there. It's a small market, but it's an interesting one that I've been digging into. And but the DIY thing really builds that intimacy where you're not so hungry for the next thing on the horizon. You're still contemplating, hey, should I keep these ceramic pickups or should I go for the standard Al Nickel 5s? And if I go for the Al Nickel 5s, which ones do I get, And then there you go. That's a gas thing in itself, but it's little bits and pieces. It's not whole guitars. So your wallet will thank you, your marriage will thank you. Your space. Yeah, you gotta try. There is no try. There's either do or don't. Remember what Yoda said? Let's keep that in mind as well. Those are wise words. There is no try. DIY guitars help you learn about maintenance and upgrades. Plus, it's 100% your baby. Yeah, kind of bond to it. And you're like, and you understand things. And you know, I talk about this. I don't think I don't think I talk about this enough. You know, this is the Gibson multi tool. I'm sure you guys have seen these before. This has literally everything, and I'm not using that in the American, you know, pejorative way, but in the actual, literally, you can literally do every kind of servicing to a Stratocaster you need to with this. You can take the thing apart and put it back together again with just this tool, and $15, and you learn how, you know, there's like it's like 50,000 tools on this, and I've only used, you know, usually two. But since I've gotten that Strat, it opened this up for me. You know, it got me to, hey, well, I need to intonate and I need this. Well, I've got everything I need right here. So there's that. I've learned a lot just building kit guitars. Yeah, yeah, and that's what I mean. It opens up a new horizon for you and keeps things interesting because you want to fight Alzheimer's as much as possible. When you're young, you don't think about it. When you get older, you're thinking, "Hey, man, I gotta keep my mind going." Yeah, YouTube University is a good. Well, I don't know, man. You know. Uh, there are some guys that'll steer you wrong, and we're going to talk about that here in a minute. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. People steering you wrong with YouTube information. So those are the three things that I think are a cure for gas that are solid science behind those. Appreciate what you got. Whether you're broke or not, I threw broke in there, but it was elegantly a story that was given there by Mickey to us. It shows you that even when you're broke, you can make it work and go to work. And one in, one out. If you buy something, you're selling something. And that doesn't mean like, oh, I'm going to buy that brand new Gibson Les Paul, but I think I'll sell this $30 pedal. That balances out. Nah, buddy. No. It's got to be something close to or damn well close to equivalency there. One in, one out. And then the last one, DIY stuff. It's far more easier on your pocketbook. You'll bond with the stuff that you build. I'm so juiced on this. I'm looking forward to putting strats together, you know, and doing this work. I can't wait for the next one to happen here. The parts to flow through. Thank you guys, appreciate it. Philip McKnight is the man. Go watch him about Guitar Man. Yes, I agree. I will wholeheartedly endorse his channel. I will endorse him as an individual, as a human being, because he's just a decent, straight guy. I like decent people in this world where everything is turned into indecency. When you can find a decent guy, it comes through. You can tell. And so please listen to him. Go to his channel. Stewie Mac has their own YouTube channel. If you want to learn a lot of stuff about staining, about guitar maintenance, swapping pickups, the whole nine. Can't go wrong with those two channels. Yeah, Frederick. Yeah, coming up with that. So just to finish this up. Yeah, that last one, DIY, and boy, I went out today and the wind was blowing. I feel like I swallowed a pine tree. I have Taylor. Yeah, all right. Where are we at? Yeah, this is good. Before we get into the next segment, talking about acoustic guitars, how is everybody out there? How are you guys doing? I hope you're all well. It's not the high dollar one though. Well, yeah, I'm going to talk about that too. Again, you guys, you know, you're in the right place because we're going to talk about good but cheap acoustic guitars tonight. And yeah, that's groovy. Yeah, you know, string it up and jam it, rock it. I always say rock it, you know. And so, how are you guys out there tonight? I'm drinking orange juice tonight because, like I said, I was in a club full of people, and being the germ phobic type of guy that I am, I immediately came home, swallowed a whole bottle was that a disinfectant, and I'm drinking orange juice. I'm good, and Jomatti's good, enjoying the chats. I'm enjoying the chats with you guys too. I snuck into Three Chord Dave's live chat last night because I like Three Chord Dave, as you guys know. We've never met personally and spoken directly. But again, it's just some cats that you can just tell are just solid cats. And I love his beard, man. I've watched the evolution of that beard. We all have over the course of time. I want to say we should start taking bets and measuring how far is he going to let it go. That's pretty cool. That is like pure ZZ Top territory, and I love it. I don't have the face for it. If I, as small as my face is, if I grew a beard like that, you would never see me. It'd be like I'm peeking at you through a bush. um, but I snuck into his live chat last night and I dug that. I really enjoyed just sitting back and being in the live chat, as opposed to in this position of driving it and just checking everybody out and what they had to say. And so, yeah, that was fun last night. I did that. Um, yeah, I think he had said something about trimming it a little while back. Yeah, buddy, I don't think he's gotten to it yet. I don't want him to. I want him. Let's see where we can go with it. If we're gonna do it, let's do it all the way. I always say, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing all the way. That's been my motto. And Yeah, I'm drinking orange juice just as a precautionary thing. And whenever I'm in a room full of people, and I always do that. Um, but I enjoyed being there and listening to live music. It's nothing better than listening to live music, guys. There really isn't. So support your live venues out there when you can. Support wherever you can. Even if you're like, hey, I don't have anything to do. It cost me 15 euros. So 15 euros or $20. So it cost me $20 to buy the ticket to get in there today. That's not a lot. It's not a lot of money at all. To go support an artist and to go support the venue and just to soak that in and maybe learn something. So I throw that out there to you guys. How are we doing time-wise? Oh, this is perfect. All right. This, guys, it is my acoustic guitar. I've brought this out before. This is my Yamaha. This is the FG33S. This is the Yamaha FG33S. And I have had this guitar for a long time. This has been my recording guitar, live stage. I played it live on live stage. Yeah, I've used it just like that for a long time now. So long, it's been so long that I've had this guitar that I, for a long time, was under the impression, and I've told the story here with you guys, and I'm here tonight to clear it up a little bit, that I bought this guitar in, thank you, appreciate it. It is nice looking. I was under the impression that I bought this in Shibuya, Tokyo, in the summer of 1997. And for preparation for this week's content, where I'm going to talk about acoustic guitars and woods, a little preview tonight. I won't go into all the things I'm going to talk about, but I will talk about a few of them. Yeah, it's a wonderful guitar. I started to research this guitar for the first time. I know it's weird. I know you're saying to yourself, well, why is he just now doing any research into his acoustic guitar? because quite frankly, it was an awesome guitar. It played well, and that was good. And as I've told you before, I'm a one guitar kind of guy, so I had a great acoustic guitar. I've never felt the need to change it. I've played more expensive guitars than this one, and this one always, this is the one that people want to borrow, and I never would let them ever. It's never left my hands or left my control. This is the one guitar over the decades that I've had. Now, in researching this guitar, I discovered something, a little bit of a fib that I've been telling, and I want to correct it tonight. I've been saying that I have had this guitar since 1997. Now, if you go online and you look up the Yamaha FG, what did I say it was? Well, it's right here in front of me, 433S. If you look, great guitars. If you look that up, it'll tell you that this guitar was in production from 2001 to 2005. So 4 years that this guitar came out. So you say to yourself, well, Mike, something's wrong with the math there. Talking about the likes, which again seem a little off, but I digress. Talking about your story being off, if these were only produced in 2001 to 2005, how did you buy it in Shibuya in 1997? Well, that's a great question, Mike. I'm glad you asked. And I was perplexed myself. Also, another thing about this guitar, you will find if you look this up, they'll tell you that the top on this guitar is made from citra spruce. Now, citra spruce is a very common wood for tops on acoustic guitars. Taylor uses citra for 80% of its guitar tops. So they'll say it's a citra top, a Naito sides, back, and neck, and a rosewood neck on this one. And so that's what you'll see. And it was made from 2001 to 2005. And yet somehow or another, I know that I had this pre-2000s to my mind. So a little bit of a Scooby-Doo mystery there, right? You would think, and yes, it is. It's a very odd thing. So, right here on the inside, and I think you guys can probably see that, you can see stamped right there is the serial stamp for this guitar. And you would say to yourself, okay, Mike, that'll straighten up a couple of things. By the way, the reason I mentioned what the some of the internet said the woods were made of this, that description of what the woods of this guitar is made of is completely incorrect as well. Okay, well, what's that about? But you would think that having the date stamped here inside of the neck of this guitar, easy peasy, nice and easy. Let's just take a look and see what it says. Well, again, this is a Japanese guitar. Japanese don't always play by the same playbook, if you guys hadn't noticed. And the stamp on the inside of this guitar is the date stamp, but it is not written in a Roman calendar date. It is written in a date that goes based upon the emperor reign. For example, Heisei, I was born in Showa. I was born in 1967, but in Japan, I was born in Showa 42. Okay, so it's a completely different dating system. So the date stamped inside here is based upon that. And there's no way that this guitar, Showa period ended in 1989, and the Heisei started. So then you would have to start counting from there as to, so if this was truly, I truly did get this in 1997, that would put it at a Heisei 9. But I look at the stamp on the inside of this guitar, and it's an 11. Okay. So that means that this guitar was produced in 1999. 1999. It's actually dated so it is the 24th day of February 1999 is the date that's stamped on the inside of this guitar. So you say to yourself, okay, you didn't get it in 97, you probably got it in 99, and it's been so long you forgot it, and I do believe that is the case because I bought this brand new. Well, they had it on the B stock rack, but it was a new guitar, B stock, at the Yamaha store in Shibuya. So I was 2 years off, but I did buy it in the 1990s, not the 2000s. 2 years off on that story. So from now on, I can say accurately, because I've checked inside now, I bought this in 1999. Now, that gets to why is it that they say that you'll go on the internet and they'll say that this was only produced from 2001 to 2005. Well, the brochures that you will get on this guitar are in English, and that'll give you a hint and a half. If this guitar was being released domestically prior to that, there would be no data on this in English. It would be all in Japanese, and indeed, actually, these were produced prior to that. They produced prior to the dates that you'll see online. 2001 to 2005 is when they were available for export outside of Japan. So this is not an export model of that guitar. This is an import. This is a domestic. This is not an export model. This is a domestic model of that guitar. And that is an interesting thing when we get to the descriptions of the wood. The descriptions of the wood that you'll find on the internet for this guitar are incorrect. When this was released, when they put these out, there was a lesser model of this called the FG423S. Not the 33S, but the 423S. That had a Sitka spruce top. That had the Naito back, sides, and neck. And it came in a variety. They also, they had a natural one, but it also came in colors as well. It's not the same guitar. It's not the same guitar. This one, it was their top of the line at the time. And it blew my mind when I did a little research and I found out what this guitar actually is made of. The top on this guitar is actually Engelmann spruce. Now, if you know anything about Engelmann spruce, you know that right now in this day and age in 2023, if you go to Taylor Guitars, that's really for their custom shop guitars. And if you go to the Taylor website, they'll explain to you that the old growth Engelmann wood like this that they used to use and had a plenty is not so aplenty anymore. As a matter of fact, they can't find it. It's getting harder and harder to find old growth Engelmann spruce. Say that 3 times fast. Of this quality anymore. So they only reserve it for special order and for custom shops. So this actually is Engelmann spruce, an American spruce. This, and it's, you know, if you look at it, you can tell the minute you look at it, is not Naito. This is actually rosewood. So the sides of this guitar is rosewood. So Engelmann spruce top, you can see that yourselves. That's rosewood, as plain as day. You can see that if you know rosewood. It's the neck, and you can see that in the difference between the wood body and the neck body. That's also very apparent. The neck is made of Naito. The fingerboard is rosewood on this. So, interesting enough, digging into the research to find out, I didn't think, that I knew this, that I've heard of these in the UK, these guitars in the UK. I've heard of these guitars in the States. They got there. Usually, when they get to the States, it's servicemen that were bringing them over. So that's that. In a lot of cases, especially on the West Coast, California, you get a lot of Japanese guitars. That's why even when I was a kid, I would run into Japanese Fenders and Squires and Japanese made app phones and things of that nature, because a lot of them were coming over. Military guys bringing them over. San Diego to LA is not that far of a ride. And so, yeah, a lot of awash with Japanese stuff. But that's what I thought about this one. I had no idea. It didn't occur to me that, in truth, they use Engelmann spruce on harps and violins, also high-end ones. Yeah, yeah. Um, it never occurred to me that there was a domestic version of the guitar that was released first, and then there was another one that was released for export. And so those are the stories. Now, I don't know if the 2001 to 2005, I can't say definitively if those have that initial wood description, the Sitka spruce top and the Naito sides and backs and neck. But I know the 423 model in Japan, if you go through the Japanese literature, was that description. So there may be something there. But either way, this is a domestic version of that guitar. And it is made, I had no idea. I had no idea with this guitar. Guys, that's, you know, you'll look at me, hey, wait a minute, you're Mike the Guitar Man. You're supposed to know, you know, this, that, and the other. God, I hope you don't look at me as that. I really don't, because you're setting yourself up for let down and regrets. Because yes, I have owned a guitar for over 2 decades, and it wasn't until just this week that I said, hey, let me look into that guitar a little bit deeper. It sure is nice. I wonder why, you know, for what, you know, a $400 guitar, you're not going to get this for $400 anymore. And if you find them out there in the wild, if you can come across this 433, like I said, I'm pretty sure you'll know when you look at it, the size, just you'll know what rose, you'll know when you look at it. If not, just hit me up and I'll take a look at it and tell you. But you can get these out in the wild for $200 or so. And you got woods on this, you know, exotic, high quality woods in this guitar that you're not going to get until you start talking about custom shop level stuff. Now, Engelmann spruce is perfect for finger picking because it's a very mid-friendly kind of sounding resonance to it, and a very warm sound. And that's one of the things, probably the reason they use it for harps. That makes sense. Harp, you're picking. So yeah, that makes sense. Violins, you're plucking as well. So that makes sense. It's perfect for that. And so for an acoustic guitar, for this to be the way that it is, it has a beautiful tone to it. And I had no idea that I was sitting on, you know, Engelmann spruce, rosewood guitar. And I'm never letting it go. I mean, hell, I've held on to it this long, so obviously it's a keeper. It's my life for guitar. Everybody's got one or two guitars or a bass or something, a piece of kit that they've had forever, and you know, they don't even think about it. You know, it's always going to be there, and this is it. This Yamaha, but it's a whole heck of a lot nicer than I thought it was, and so I kind of wanted to get into that tonight a little bit about that. We just touched upon electric guitars and spending a lot, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be happy with what you get. In the acoustic guitar market, there's still a lot of gems. It hasn't been complete. The carcass hasn't been completely picked over yet. there are a lot of gyms like this Yamaha. If you can find them out there, you got yourself something that's a keeper, boy. And let me tell you something. This wood truly is aging. I said that I found it. This is not cured wood. This is not. This is, you know, the real deal. And I have noticed that this guitar has mellowed out in the last 20 years from where it was to where it is now. To it's a gorgeous tone. And that's the beauty of acoustic guitars is they get older if you can keep them in one piece. And I think I've done a good job, as you guys can see, keeping it in one piece. It doesn't look like Trigger. Where it's literally being held together by two paper clips and a Band-Aid. I keep it together because I keep it in its case, but I think I'm going to take it out of its case and enjoy it a little bit more and play a little bit more of that too. Also, playing acoustic guitar is great for your dexterity for practicing because your string tension is a lot. You're playing 12s, 13s on here, so it'll really get you so that when you do move to the electric guitar, I find the electric guitar that's easy to play after playing acoustic. So another good thing about acoustic guitars. But anyway, there's a lot of gems out there to be found, guys. If you know what you're looking for, you dig a little bit. So the Yamaha FG series. If you come across a Yamaha FG 825 and they're asking $100 for it, pay them the $100. Say thank you very much. I'll see if I can make this work. If not, I'll be back with it. You know, a veiled threat, and quickly head for your car and screech away, because those things are going for a fortune. But a lot of people don't know what they are. This is next step up from this one. Acoustics do mellow with age. They sound amazing. Had my Takamine since 1991. It's been everywhere and it shows its age, but I'll never part with it. Trigger looks rough. Yeah. Yeah, Mickey. I'll never part with it. This is my acoustic guitar. It'll grow old with me, and that'll be that. I've recorded so much stuff. This guitar has paid for itself. Talk about your equipment paying for itself. This guitar has paid for itself. It's paid for apartment. It's paid, it's paid for rent, things like that. It's more from the work that I've done with it, and never felt the need to have another one. Never did. So there's that. It's really a lot out there in the acoustic market that's interesting, guys. So a little bit, again, I'm sorry to hit you with it, but a little bit of research never hurts. A little bit of digging, man, and you can, if you with knowledge, you can find treasure. Indiana Jones, he had to go to school, but once he did, boy, did he find treasure. Yeah, dig that. So just digging into things. So if I ever come across another one of these again, or any of the Yamaha FG series from that period, yeah, I'm going to be taking a hard look. Even the lower FG 23S with its Sika spruce top. Again, Sika spruce tops is 80% of Taylor guitars. If you don't believe me, it's what they say on their own website. 80% of our guitars is made with Sitka spruce. Even with that Sika spruce top and the Naito sides and back, the 423, if you can find one, that's an awesome guitar, because that guitar now is a $600-700 guitar. And on the used market, if you can find them out there, you probably get them for cheap. And again, it's not a Martin, it's not a Taylor, but doggone it, it's a 20-year-old guitar made from what is considered today to be premium woods. And if you were to go to any luthier at one of those before mentioned companies and say to the custom shop, I want this made like this with, by the way, real Mexican abalone inlays on this guitar. So it's real abalone, mother of pearl up there on the top where it says Yamaha and the logo. That's mother of pearl. If you go to a custom shop and ask for a guitar like this made from these kind of materials, guess what? Be prepared to write a check. All Yamaha guitars are good guitars. Yeah, again, our definition is a functional guitar or not functional. So yeah, by that basic metric and beyond, yeah, Yamahas are great. They really put their foot in it. The Japanese guitars are good, because they really take their time in looking at putting it together. You're not going to there is no defects on this guitar. There's no seams that are off. There's no binding coming loose. There's no tuning pegs that are having any issues. And this is now I know 1999, so this is 22 years later. And I'm the only owner of this guitar, so I would know. 22 years later, and I've kept it good, and it's got no issues. So yeah, Japanese guitars are awesome. And it could be well understood why people seek them out. And they'll pay a premium for the known ones, the Japanese Strats and Tellys and things of that nature. Those are known, so the price, forget about it. But what I'm saying tonight, wrapping this up on tonight, is with these Yamaha acoustics like this one, hell, I had it for 23 years, been rocking it, and I didn't even know what I had. Think of all the other cats out there who don't even take that time to look it up, and they're selling it secondary, and you got a chance to swoop in on something nice there. So that's a buy. Any of the 90s, early 2000s Yamaha FG series, if you can find them, you're dealing with, even like I said on that 423S basic model, you're dealing with woods right now that you would pay, $600-700 for an average price for a guitar these days. You could get those, the older Yamahas, same woods, older. They're not cured woods, so they are aging, they are maturing. You can get those for $100, $150. Which one makes your wallet happier? But a little bit of knowledge, guys. A little bit of research. A little bit of trying to avoid gas. Also, guys, keep an eye out for the vintage 80s and 90s Yamaha acoustics made in Taiwan. They are fabulous. Yeah. Basically, 80s, 90s, early 2000 Yamaha acoustics. I can co-sign on that one. Yeah, that's a buy if it's in good condition. The good condition is the asterisk next to that statement. Because ain't everybody love and kind with their guitars like I am. I have a deep respect for guitars, and I keep them. There's some of those guys who like to have the old beat up looking guitar because they think it looks cool. I want to try to keep my guitar looking as nice and as new as possible for as long as possible. Again, maybe one of my little peeves, but we all got them. That's one of mine. And so keeping it in good shape is good, because if you do move it on, then somebody will be lucky. And that's what you're looking for, that lucky one, that one where the guy kept it good. And be on the lookout for Yamaha guitars. It shocked me. I saw that the other day. I was looking at it, I said, holy crap, this is made from Engelmann spruce, this top? And sure as shoot, yes, sir, it is. And again, it's clear as day. I always thought the sides were rosewood. I never thought otherwise. So when I was hearing about Nito, I was like, huh? Or Nito, however else you want to pronounce it. I was like, hey, this looks like rosewood. Well, yeah, it is. So yeah, look out for that. Identify woods too, start to get an eye for woods. Look at something and say, oh, this kind of looks like it could be this. As light as that Squire parts caster that I put together, I was talking to Fern, And we both agreed that for agathis, it's awfully light. Agathis is not a light wood. It can be, certain cuts of it. So that's why we're going to put an asterisk next to that one that it's agathis, because it actually could be outer, because they were also using outer woods. That would explain for the lightness. That Strat is super light. Fern, who certainly would know a thing or two about handling Strats, a guy was bringing one in, as a matter of fact, as I was taking mine out. Said it's extraordinary light, and so there's a question as to whether it's agathis. So we're both looking at that wood. So even learning woods, and even two guys like us looking at something we may not know, then it starts to get to be, well, it kind of weighs light, so maybe not. So there's that. Anyway, it's fun. Frederick, thank you so much for showing up and taking the time to listen to my ramblings this evening. Yeah, so I just want to wrap up with that, guys. Yeah, we'll end there tonight. Eddie, shh. My cat is demanding his snack, so I guess, my stage manager is telling me it's time to call it a wrap. Did you guys hear that? It's like, hey, it's freaking snack time. What the hell? That's all right. I enjoyed it tonight, guys. I enjoyed talking to you about these subjects. I'm glad I had something to talk about. Yeah, Eddie. Loud Eddie. Boy, Mickey, I'm sure you could hear him from where you're at. Like, do I hear a cat meowing? It must be Eddie. That sucker is loud. I miss TJ, my cat who passed away. As you guys know, that was my buddy. And you can't make other cats have that same relationship with you. It's always going to be different. But with Eddie, he's his own man, and he's shaping it. He's actually a sweet boy. And so I'm thankful for him and Ellie and for Hoshi as well. And I'm thankful for you guys. I'm always thankful for the fact that you take the time to show up every Sunday night. I'm going to give my speech, guys. My last little spiel here is my only sales pitch. If you want to support this channel, go to bandcamp.com. Look up my band, Asanoki, and the album Ants in the Pantry, and purchase it. For those of you who have purchased it, thank you so much. I want to let you know it is satisfactory when I open up my Bandcamp app and I see that album is selling. You don't get that on Spotify. There's not that kind of gratification that, hey, people like this and they're willing to give their hard-earned money for it and to support the channel. And so thank you to everybody who's done that so far. Join that group if you haven't so far, if you're so inclined. No pressure here. But it does go directly to supporting this channel. So buy the album if you haven't already. Check it out. Yeah, we're going to be talking about acoustic guitars this week, so that'll probably be released on Friday or Saturday. I'll shoot that video, get a little bit more into this Yamaha and what I was just talking about, and just a little preview there. And if you haven't watched the video that I put out yesterday talking about I'm switching over from Les Pauls to Strats, which interesting, I didn't get into a lot of detail tonight, but suffices to say that it's a weight issue, guys. It's so much easier to have a Strat, especially that light. This thing is so light, I've got to tie it down. A good wind, it'll blow out the window compared to that Les Paul. But have a good evening, everybody. Have a good week. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed Mr. Sun. Yeah, it is a good song. I wrote that laying on my carpet in an afternoon. Interesting, that feeling exactly that way. The lyrics, again, you guys know the story of the different music parts come from this and there, but yeah, good story behind that song. You guys have a good week. Take care of yourself. God bless, and I will see you soon.